that you're gonna give your end user. They're gonna input that code, and then you're gonna be joined up with them. The more information you would like to put up here, it's totally up to you. We can name this, as you can see here, Ben Support Session, in case you want to be a little bit more visible to who you are or what your company name is when you're connecting to your clients' computers. Like I said, you can get them to connect via code. You can send them an email. We can share this link, or we can integrate our calendars as well. On the left-hand side here, it's going to have, we have an all sessions button. So obviously that's going to be all the sessions that are created. Sessions can be created with the create button and then deleted just as quickly. We have a waiting for sessions button. So if you are running into licensing limits and there's more people signing in than you have licenses, then they'll simply go into a waiting for licenses. Once one of the first couple people sign out, then they'll simply be let in. We also have my sessions as well. So that is going to be based on the technician that's signed into the tool. Next, we have our meeting function. Now, this is not going to replace Teams or GoToAssist. This is just an extra feature that we add. It is similar to the support session, so you would simply get them to go to your URL and join with a specific code. We can send an email, share a link, and we can integrate our calendars as well. And this is simply going to be a screen sharing, so you can run trainings, you can do that kind of thing, where it would kind of be similar to what we're doing now, where you'd be able to interact with them through microphones, speakers, and then also messages as well. Last but not least, here we're going to get into our access tab. So as you can see up at the top left, there are a couple things that have changed. Create button is now a build button. And the reason that this is now a build is because now we're building an installer. So our access is unattended access, which means the other person does not have to be at the other end of the computer for you to make a connection. So when we build this installer is going to be, or the software is going to be left on the computer. So then you are going to have unattended access to that computer to do your work, maybe on off hours or potentially when they're not using that computer. So when we come in here and we build this installer, this is going to be up to you with how much information you want to input into this. The more information you input into this, whether it's based on the company name, location, department, we even go device types, and then we have a couple custom fields. It's going to be able to populate those into specific lists, into specific locations or departments on the left-hand side here, so that we can actually push stuff out or complete tasks at the company level or at the site level. Whenever we come down to the very bottom here, we're going to pick what the operating system is on the client side. So we have an exe file for Windows, MSI for mass deployment, so you can deploy more than one at a time. We work with Linux, and obviously we work with Mac. We can push these out by sending them a link. If we're already in a remote session with them, we can actually download it for them, or we can copy the URL and send it to them. Once we hit done and we push that out, it's then going to populate into our dashboard. Now, as you can see on the right-hand side here, we have some green bars, and then it's actually going to tell us how long, or it's going to give us a time. So the green bar means that that computer is checking into the dashboard, or it's checking into our dashboard. And then you see on the left-hand side, we have some gray bars, but then we also have a green bar. So this is going to show that there is a connection made here. Whenever we click on a machine, we are going to have visibility without making a full connection. We're going to have visibility into what we inputted into the installer, we're going to have general information about that device. We're going to see operating systems, processors, available memory. We're going to be able to see product and serial numbers, manufacturer and model numbers. Also, it's going to give us information about the network that it's on. We're going to be able to view a timeline. So we're going to be able to see which technicians have made connections to these computers, how long it was made, the date it was made on. We can send messages back and forth from the computer without having to make a connection. Simply, we can maybe give them a heads up that we're going to be connecting or doing updates tonight if they are working late, or simply sometimes it's nice to just be able to give instructions, or yeah, nice to be able to give instructions without making a full connection. We can do remote command line in the back end. And then we can leave notes on the technician side as well. So if there's potential notes that you wanted to leave for a colleague, or you just wanted to leave for yourself for next time that you make a connection to that computer, this is a place where we're going to be able to do that. These last 5 buttons on the very bottom here, these are called our remote diagnostic toolkit. Our remote diagnostic toolkit is only available to our premium partners in our cloud. So our premium support licenses in the cloud get this remote diagnostic toolkit. This is going to give you more visibility into some event logs. It's going to give you more reporting. We're going to be able to kill processes. We're going to be able to uninstall and install software. Like I was speaking about, we're going to have a more detailed event log. We can stop, start, and restart services, as well as we can push out Windows updates. So these are all going to be able to be done without making a full connection to that computer. They are not able to be scripted out. So we are not an RMM, but we are a very functional remote access. So we can do these things. It's just not possible for them to be scripted in. So there's a couple different ways that we can make connections to the computer. So we can, there's a join button up here on the top, or on the right-hand side. There's also a join button at the top, or we can simply just double click onto it. And once we double click into it, it's going to pop up into the computer here. Well, 1111, everyone make a wish. Once we're into the computer here, we now have full control of that computer. And as you can see, one of our features here is we're able to store credentials for these computers without having the technician need to know the passwords or to be able to give out the passwords. And this is done based on security roles and credentials, like I said. It's something that we'll touch on in a little bit when I go over creating new users. But is it as simple as getting into this computer as a click of a button? All right, once the password's inputted, now we are locked and loaded. We are going to be able to control this computer just like we're controlling our own computer. Now up at the top here, we have our host toolbar. These are going to be some great tools that we can use in session to help assist or to get work done. So we have our view tab. This is going to be able to control our views. Going to be able to control what screens we're looking at. As you can see here, we have our all screens, so we can see both screens at the same time. But if we specifically wanted to work on the left screen here, we can pop that out and work on that specifically like it's right in front of you. We can adjust the quality. So bandwidth, if you're having bandwidth issues, I know it's crazy to think about, but I lived in a place a couple years ago that still had satellite internet. Talk about painful, but if you were dealing with somebody or your client had satellite internet and you're having a hard time with bandwidth, you can actually lower the quality or the resolution to take up less bandwidth. I was just curious, and I looked at how much bandwidth each session takes, and it's only about 500 to 1,000 kilobytes per session. So it's not a heavy connection or a heavy tool, but we do give you the ability to adjust the resolution. We're going to be able to zoom as well in here. Right now we're working in the front, or we're working on the computer. If you wanted to get into Backstage, which is our PowerShell commands in the back. So we also do it in the Backstage as well, or the back end. And then we have a share my desktop. So if you wanted to flip your desktop around and do a training session, or just be able to show your end client something that you're talking about and it's on your computer, we can also flip that around. Next, we have our Essentials tab. I'm going to go left to right here. So we start at the top. We're going to be able to send Control, Alt, Delete, as well as keyboard strokes like you saw me do when I sent the password. We can reboot and reconnect into normal and safe mode. We store our credentials up here. So like I had said, this is based on your security roles, but like you saw, it's as simple as clicking a button. We can send that password for the correct computer without having to tell the tech what that password is. If there was someone on the other end of this computer right now, we'd be actually fighting for control of the mouse. So we can block their input, and you can also block your input for whatever reason if you wanted to do that. If you're looking at something specific that is not meant to be viewed by your client, or it's confidential, we can blank their monitor. So this is just typically, or this is standard, just going to turn the monitor black. You can actually set that up so it displays your company logo. It can just display a funny photo. We have Acquire WakeLAN as WakeLAN lock as well. So if you're ever needing to leave the computer or the session open or idle for a longer time than expected, you can turn this on so that it's not going to shut you off and disconnect you. We have remote printing as well, so you can print remotely. And then we have a share clipboard as well. Our toolbox is a pretty cool feature. So we have a toolbox that is communal. So you can put tools in here that might be very useful for your entire team. But then if you have some more senior techs that are using tools that aren't quite as user-friendly, or maybe not as beneficial to have in the shared toolbox, we also have personal toolboxes as well. So you can manage this on a team set, or as a team, or you can manage your own toolbox. File transfers, is a couple of different ways that we can do file transfer. File transfer is as simple as up at the top bar here, we have select files to send. We can send a folder, and then we can also receive files from this computer as well. We can simply drag and drop from my desktop onto the end user's desktop as well to transfer files. Screen capture, so we can manually record each session or record a video. We can take screenshots and save them, and we can store them within the session. Now with our premium feature, or with our premium license, we actually record every session. So there's video recording on every session. It's then stored in our cloud for 30 days. So that basically gives you 30 days to download and export that to your own server or your own storage. If you guys are working with different compliances and need to keep certain things, or you just want to keep certain videos. So like I said, we keep that in our cloud for 30 days, and then it gives you the opportunity to move it to however you want to store that. We're going to be able to speak back and forth through the computer or through the headsets, depending on whatever's hooked up here. I mean, we all know technology, sometimes it doesn't work, and how frustrating it can be if the person's speaker or headphones aren't plugged in. So we actually also have the ability in app to do messaging back and forth. We're going to see an overview of the participants within the session. We have animations, so we can draw on the screen. A couple different ways to do that. Spoke about the messages. Then we have our tech side helper as well. So the tech side helper isn't visible to our end user, but if you need to look something up, Google, Bing, anything like that, it's our little secret. And then last but not least, we're going to see the status of this connection. So how long it's been connected to, messages sent back and forth, going to give us any last known error messages, as well as what server it's using. What else can I show you within the session? I think that is basically it for in session. So Tony asks, does it install a remote client? So with the unattended access, it does install a remote client onto the computer. As you can see here, it's as simple as just clicking into the toolbar, and there's the client there. So with our unattended access, there is a client installed. With our support, there is not a client installed. William has a great question as well. Clipboard allows us to copy and paste within a session. That is very correct. So I guess we can move on then, get into some of the more messy and back-end stuff. At the very top here, so we hit our admin tab. This is going to be our, so our cloud admin is probably going to be in here the most. We have our overview. Right at the top here, we have our status check, and we can check that, make sure everything's green. Now, generally, because we are hosting it for you in our cloud, these are always going to be a green check, and your version is always going to be the latest. We have some security settings down here. We have a couple user sources. So this is our two-factor. So we have 22 users in our sales instance, and we are 100% 2FA, which means two-factor authentication is mandatory. So it's mandatory within our tool. We do understand that sometimes it can be frustrating, but it's the way that we keep our tools secure, and we know with this world that we're living in now, the security is pretty important. So we do have mandatory two-factor. We don't charge extra for it like some of our other vendors, so please set that up. We also have some maintenance plans here. So we have 11 maintenance plans actioned every 30 days. I'll speak about that in a little bit down here at the database. But those are basically to help you keep your instance clean. I'll talk about that in a little bit. We have our extensions tab here. These extensions are awesome. So these are all of our integrations that we support on the control side. These are all free to our users. So please get in here, do some exploring if you have any extra time. We have 35 extensions installed on our specific sales instance. One of our cool integrations, or one of our cool features with our Connectwise Premium, is our it's called Connectwise View. And our Connectwise View is basically you're able to send a link to your end user's phone. Once they accept that link, and then they can share their camera, it's going to give you an real-time view into any hardware issues they're having, or you're going to be able to help troubleshoot hardware issues without having to roll the truck out. So I'm just going to jump into that real quickly here as we have it open. Please don't mind my my messy desk. It's we're doing renovations here at this house that we just bought, so it's a little messy. So please don't mind me. But as you can see here, once I joined, or once I inputted the code, I can see from the technician side that somebody has joined. and then I can simply jump in here and join as well. Hey, Mike, got a great question. Can MFA integrate with our current MFA via SAML or OAuth 2? Absolutely. Yep, we integrate both of those. So as you can see on my screen here, we're going to see the screen of my, or the view of my phone, and I'm going to just get into my camera here. And there we go. So there's a real-time view of my messy desk. So this is, like I said, going to be able to help you troubleshoot hardware issues. Maybe if something's not plugged in correctly, we're going to be able to view that without having to roll out the trucks, and maybe be able to get them to help fix it. So that's just one of the premium features as well. We also have some different extensions. So we have a custom theme manager, so you're going to be able to change exactly what your landing page looks like, what your icon looks like. We have a guest initiated chat, so you can have an icon on your client's desktop so that they can help initiate a chat as well as start a session. So these are just a couple of an extreme amount, or a couple of many different integrations we have and extensions that we offer to our partners. Next, we'll talk about security. We have our security tab here. At the very top, we have our user sources. So like we were talking about before, Mike, via SAML and 2auth. Here we go. These are the ones that we have specifically in this sales instance, but we do integrate with many, many, many different TFAs. Tony, another great question. Thanks for asking so many questions this morning. Can you start a session to any mobile device? For example, the client is having some issues with their mobile device. Can I use the connection to support them? Absolutely. I mean, you can send a support link or to an iPhone, which you just saw me on. Now, you're not going to be able to take control of that, but you're going to be able to help walk them through what they need to do. We can control Android, so yes, mobile device management is very possible. It does not come with our one license, so anything standard or premium, you're going to be able to do mobile device control. So yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the questions. We have our internal users in the top box here. We have a show user table, so that's going to be able to, that's going to give us a view into all of our users. Starting from left to right here, we're going to be able to edit a user. We can delete users. We have the name of that user as well as the role. So we were speaking about roles earlier. So these are different security roles, and this is going to allow you to restrict abilities or restrict views to certain computers, certain sites. We have our 2auth here. So this is going to be email for most of us, but we can, like we said, there's a Google app there in there. So depending on what you would like to use, it's absolutely available. And then we also have our display names. If we want to create a new user, it's as simple as clicking a button. We're going to be able to assign them a role. We're going to be able to create them a password. We can also force them to change that password on next login. And then the other information here, we're going to put their email in, as well as how we want them to 2auth, and then a display name. As we scroll down here, this is just going to show us the 2auth here. And we come to the very bottom, it's going to show us our roles. So these are the roles that I've been talking about. And these are going to be able to restrict restrict certain users to specific machines, abilities, depending on their role. So as you can see here, our administrator role, which is our which is the administrator role, sorry, has 34 permission entries, whereas our meeting only has 13, or our junior tech only has 1 permission. Now we can create a completely new role here. Like we said, and like we've always said, our tool is extremely granularly customizable. So if there's something very small that you don't want someone to be able to do, you don't want anyone to be able to delete a session, you can actually select all of these and then you can just unselect the delete sessions. So this is going to be great for very customized roles. If you like something in our administrator role and you want to assign that to someone else, we can clone it. We can also edit it so that we can take certain small things away. And then we have our delete button as well. We have temporary host pass that you can give out to vendors potentially to use your tool. These are able to be revoked or set to revoke after a certain amount of time, or we can simply come down here and revoke it altogether. We have our database here. So this is going to be our maintenance plans. So our maintenance plans are here to help you keep your instance clean. Just for example, here we have a maintenance plan for support that purges all events older than 30 days. So every 30 days, it's going to go in there, and anything that hasn't been used in 30 days, it's just going to delete for us to keep that clean. So we can come up here and create an action plan. These are all very customizable. They're all editable, and then we can also change how often they're run. So if you wanted to run it every week, every day, every hour, whatever you see fit. Alex, great question. Do host passes have a license association or associated? We have an RDP configured for specific vendors for 1 to 2 machines only if the environment, and it seems like a perfect solution to solve that. They do count towards your license count, unfortunately. Yeah, roundabout way. Yeah, no roundabout way around that. They do count towards your license count. So I'll explain licensing a little bit towards the end there. But for our support licenses, even though it's a host pass, they would still count towards that license count if they're logged in. We're going to be able to set up simple email configuration here. We have some triggers as well. So triggers are basically if an event happens, then it's going to notify you or to start a session, or it's basically if something happens, then an action will happen. So we have some session triggers here. We have these ones turned on, obviously. Guest notify on connect and disconnect, notify when guest connects to an unconnected support or meeting sessions. And these are customizable as well. So we can come in here and create an event filter, and then we can also create the action taken from that. Pretty cool new feature we have within the last couple of months here. We have security triggers so that we can be notified when one of our users or accounts is locked out, if somebody enters an invalid password, etc., so that we can have a lot of visibility and a lot of control over what's going on in our accounts so that we can be notified if something goes wrong right away. This is our appearance tab. Appearance, we can change and white label everything about this tool. We don't need it to say Connectwise on there. If you want it to say Connectwise, we're happy with it, or Screen Connect. But everything is able to be changed. One of our engineers had set up this pretty cool one, not pretty cool, I mean, I guess it's cool, but called moist.screenconnect.com, and it's just a landing page that's basically extremely customized to Cake Troll. So it just shows you how far you can take it away from tech or away from Screen Connect and make it your very own. We're going to be able to change, like we said, the landing page here. We're also going to be able to change the logos as well. So if you have a company logo, we can run audits. So we're going to be able to pick a date range. We have session event filters as well as the security event filters. We're going to be able to pull this information from. And now when I click on these, there is a lot going on, but that just shows you we can pull very granular data. So I'm going to click this, and as you can see, we have a lot of stuff going on here. So we can pull a report for everything here, which is going to be a lot, or we can deselect it, and then we can also just pull a report for specific session events or specific security events. We're going to be able to pull all of those into a CSV log as well. We have our advanced settings. So these are also getting into the weeds here. This is the backend stuff that is going to be very dry if you're not looking to change a lot about the instances. But this is going to be where we can configure thresholds. We can turn on and off certain what's the word I'm looking for? We can turn it on and off certain settings, page idle, timeout. If there's maybe a compliance you need, we can change that. It's at 3,600 seconds right now. We can block certain IP addresses, restrict IP addresses, and I mean this goes on and on. Like I said, these are advanced settings. Yeah, you want to get in there and we can we can disable host client menu items, application configuration, and then we also have web configuration. Lanny is asking, are you able to create your own audit reports? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can come in here, create, yeah, absolutely. Come in here to create the report depending on what you want to view. We also have the security as well, and then we would just simply, there we go, query audit, and it's going to pull up that file up here. Now this is probably going to be a mess just because of everything is checked off, but this is the report that it's going to pull for you. And then we have the reports down here at the bottom. So like we said, everything is extremely customized, even our reports. So we can create a report from scratch. Lots and lots and lots and lots of things to be able to report on. And then we can also limit it. So it limits it at 1,000, but yeah, so these reports are extensive. Yeah, it gives you a lot of visibility into what's going on into your instances. That pretty well sums up the tool. Thanks for the great questions today, guys. That's great. I just wanted to say, if I haven't gotten to a question that is typed in, don't worry, I didn't forget about you. We are going through a couple changes. So Alex, I see your SSO questions. I'm going to ask before I give you a wrong answer. So I'll get back to you on that. So like I said, I want to talk a little bit about licensing. If you guys do have questions that do come up, type them in the chat and I can come back to the tool. But we'll jump into licensing. This is control.connectwise.com. It's our microsite. This is where we love to offer you support, information. As you can see here, we're going to scroll down and it's going to give us a couple of different licenses here. So we have our access only license. So our access only license does not have our support and meeting functions. It only has access. So it's going to be based on the number of devices you have in your, or sorry, it's going to be based on the number of devices, not on the number of users. So this is going to be, maybe you're using it as a VPN or you're using it to allow people to work from home. You're giving them access to their own computers. Then we have our support licenses. Our support licenses are the full license. This is going to have our meeting, our support, and our access. And these licenses are billed based on the concurrent technician. So for example, you have 5 technicians that work at your company. At the busiest time, 3 technicians need to be logged in to support people. You don't need to buy 5 licenses. Licenses aren't tied to specific users. They're floating licenses. So 3 people are logged into the tool. If the 4th goes to log in on a busy day, they'll simply get a waiting for license message. When one of the first 3 are done with their sessions and they log out, then the 4th will simply be let in. So like I was saying before, we have different we have different support licenses. We have our 1 license. This is our basic license for supporting small groups of end users or for personal use. So this is going to give you 1 session limit, 10 unattended access agents, but it's still going to give you a remote meeting. You're going to be able to brand it, file transfer. We're not really taking away a lot of functionality here, but we're just limiting you to the amount of sessions and the amount of unattended access agents that you can deploy. We're going to move on to standard and premium. So the standard and premium opens it up a little bit and it gives you some more features, but it also allows you to, in our standard, have 3 simultaneous connections. So 1 person can make 3 connections, and then our premium is 1 person can make 10 connections. Both of these licenses are now opened up with unattended access. There is an unlimited amount you can deploy. So we don't care how many machines you have this deployed onto. Yeah, deploy it as much as you want. This is going to give you expanded chat options, remote command line, Wake on LAN, and then we're going to be able to support iOS and Android mobile devices. Remember, like I said, with the iOS, it's only a screen share. And then we have our premium support license. So like we had said before, this is going to give us 10 connections per tech. Everything on the left-hand side here is going to be included. Plus we have the video auditing like I spoke about. So every session is video recorded and then stored in our cloud for 30 days. We have our report generator and our remote diagnostic toolkit. So that's going to be the last 5 buttons in our access tab, as well as some more granular and customized reporting. And then we have our Connectwise view. So that was the ability to send a link to your end user's phone and have them real-time troubleshoot you hardware issues with their camera. At the very bottom, if we come to compare packages, it's going to give you actually a breakdown of what's included. Continue to scroll down, it's going to give you more and more information about the licenses. So I'm actually going to put that in the chat as well. It's a pretty handy thing to have. So Alex has a great question. How does the grouping of machines work in the console? Is that an option when we're deploying the agent to choose where the machine goes? I'm trying to understand how roles and control access to groups of machines. Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm just going to come back and touch on that. So when we're building the access installer, this is going to be where you can choose the location. I mean, these are all customized. These can be customized. Now we have our drop-down menu because we already have a couple locations on our in here, so we can either select a location or we can create a new location, and then we can also place it within a department in that location. Yeah, so you can absolutely choose which department or which location, which company, etc. that computer is going to be placed in. And then it's going to be segregated on the left-hand side here. We can come down and check out Connectwise HQ, and it's going to then have a couple of different departments under that. Now, if we come into our admin tab, remember we go to security for our internal users, and we're going to come down to roles. Now, if we come down here, we can actually select specific, what they can do within specific all machines here, or within New York, within a specific site, or like I said, within a specific location. We do encourage people to try out the tool. Please try it out, see if you like it. I guarantee if you try it, you're gonna love it. So custom URL here, we're gonna input our email. We have a custom URL. don't include the Screen Connect portion. We include that. So like I said, we use sales. So all you would put here is sales. Simply follow the steps. And once the trial is created, you actually, when you go to purchase, or if you decide to purchase, that trial is the version that goes live for you. So you don't waste any time at all or any work. Well, everybody, I'd just like to thank you all for spending some time with me this morning. Hopefully you learned something or you got something valuable out of the 45 minutes we got to spend together. All my contact information is in the chat. We have the email, we have our phone number. If you have any questions or if you have any concerns and you think about it later on in the day or the weekend, please reach out. Until next time, guys, have a great rest of the day. Happy Friday tomorrow, and then have a great weekend. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.